Hello, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about an upgrade that I've recently had inside the studio. I've upgraded my monitors, right? So previously I had the PRESONUS 3.5 BTs because I was basically trying to create the most minimalistic home studio I possibly could on a budget. I even had this small desk here and the monitors were perfect at the time, right? Now I've upgraded the desk a little bit. I've rearranged the studio. So now I've got a bit more of a distance between me and the next wall. So I wanted to upgrade and get a bit of a nicer sounding speaker or monitor. And two, I wanted something that had a bit more of a punch than 3.5 inch cones, right? So like everybody else, and probably because you've seen in the background here right now, I've upgraded to the Hs5s by Yamaha, which a lot of people do because, let's face it, they're tried, they're tested, they've got a reputation for themselves. They're really stellar, beautiful monitors. And I must admit, mine sound absolutely amazing. I went for the white just because I wanted to be different. But one thing I will say is when I first got these speakers, there was a few issues with them straight out of the box. And that's what today's video is about. It's about addressing those issues. If you're about to buy these monitors, you need to watch this video to bear in mind what's going to happen to you, or may or not happen to you, but more than likely from what I'm seeing on forums, it's quite a common thing that happens to people, right? Or maybe you've just purchased these monitors and you're noticing some of these sounds or some of these weird discrepancies and you're like, hold on, what's going on? Is this normal or is it not? Is this what happens when you go for studio monitors? It might be your first pair of studio monitors, you don't know, right? So today's video is going to help you guys out for that. So it's a few bit tips kind of how to get better sound for one, and two, how to adjust some things, especially if you're using a PC actually, to get a bit more oomph out your speakers. Okay, let's crack on. So when you first get these monitors straight out of the box, you'll notice there's only a few bit of cables that come in the box straight away, right? Also in the box, you'll get one of these little things. It's a little box that contains the power cables for each monitor, right? They're going to be those typical kettle leads, that we call them, 3-pin sockets, whatever you want to call them, right? Whatever it's called in your country. That's going to power the monitors clearly. What you do not get though is the audio cables to go from your interface to your studio monitors. Now that's actually quite important, right? Because for example, when I first connected up my speakers, I was so desperate to get them up and running so quickly. I didn't think about the cables I was popping into them. And then I was starting to get all sorts of interference because the Hs5s are not actually shielded as well as other studio monitors. So I was picking up things from mobile phones, for instance, all the little beeps and everything that was happening there. I was picking up sounds from my Bluetooth devices, my Wi-Fi. I was picking up things from, say, the GPU, because I got a big GPU in my computer, and every time I was scrolling the mouse, I could hear this weird sound. Listen to the sound that I was getting. So the only way you're going to avoid this is by properly shielding the signal that you're sending to your monitors. Best way to do that is to get some cables that are balanced cables. So first of all, in the back of the speaker, you'll notice it can take either XLR, which is a balanced signal, or it can take a TRS cable, a 1/4-inch jack, or whatever you want to call it in your country, which is either a balanced or an unbalanced signal. So let me show you some cables so you got an idea of what's a balanced and what's an unbalanced. Let me see what we've got here. Okay, so here I have a set of unbalanced cables, if I can try and get them out here. You'll notice here on the cables, if I can try and get those up close for you. Come here. So if you take a look at these, I've just got one little black line here. You see that on the tips here? One tiny little black line. And that basically means it's not earthed or it's not shielded. So every time you pop up a cable like this in there, you're going to get a lot of, let me just focus again. So you're going to get a lot of interference from outside sounds. What you need to do is get one that's shielded. So let me show you what one of those look like. So I just realized how unhelpful I am because actually all the shielded cables I have are plugged into something right now, which isn't really great. But basically what you'll find is you will have a black line, one singular black line on an unshielded, and say on this small one here, I know this is obviously referring to fully stereo, but you'll also have a secondary black ring on it. So look for a secondary black ring on your cables, and those will be shielded cables. And when you pop those in, your studio monitors will now sound a lot more clean. Take a listen to how it sounds right now. All right, so the next issue I was getting with these particular monitors is there's kind of like an inherent hiss in these speakers, right? A bit of a hiss. If you're not feeding it enough input, you're going to start to just hear that So yeah, you get this kind of inherent hiss naturally from the speakers if you've got no signal going through whatsoever, right? And then when you put the PC in there, it's like the PC doesn't have enough volume. You can turn everything all the way up, your volume at full max, but it's like it doesn't have enough volume to kind of get past that irritating hiss, you know what I mean? Does it make sense? Like when I'm trying to turn up the volume on my speakers and I'm not playing something, I'm hearing that constant high level hiss, right? So what I would like to do is just turn that volume down a bit. But when you turn the volume down a bit to the point where the hiss disappears, it's like the volume in the PC isn't loud enough. So I found this little tip that I found online, and it's basically a way of boosting a bit more amplification inside of the PC itself. But anyway, let me show you guys how to get rid of that. So what you need to do is, now obviously this is working for PC. I'm not sure how it's going to work for Apple Mac. I haven't used Apple in a while. So if you're a PC user, this is going to help you. If you're a Mac user, just try and find your equivalent version. Maybe the Macs are louder naturally, I'm not sure. But on the PC, I know they're a little bit quiet. So let's try and fix that now. So remember, you got to go down to the speaker at the bottom right. You got to right click on that, go to sounds. And then inside here, you want to go to playback. Find a device, whatever device you're using to pump the sound out of. Let's say it's this one. Go to properties, click on enhancements here. Find loudness equalization, make sure it's turned on, hit apply, and now the volume of your PC should be naturally louder without the -6 dB. So the third tip I want to talk to you guys about is basically picking yourself up some sound isolation. Now a lot of you guys will probably already be doing that, getting yourself these kind of blocks that go underneath. You can see that they go underneath the speaker. You can see that I got some sponge there. And what it's going to do is just going to take it away from the desk, because when you've got it directly mounted onto especially a wooden surface like this, the resonance is going to go through that particular surface itself, right? And it's going to start to give you artificial sounds that aren't there. So first you may not notice it, but next thing you know, it's like rumbling around in the mid regions. It's kind of boosting a little bit of the bass, maybe very slightly. And that's one thing that's my personal pet peeve with the HS5s. They are really bassless. There's like, you can feel the lack of bass straight away, right? And as soon as you pop it on these isolation pads, you get even less bass. But the truth is, you get a truer sound, and the sound is really nice, and the stereo imaging is absolutely beautiful in these speakers. But you do need to isolate them, because like I said before, the shielding in these speakers isn't fantastic when it comes to radio frequencies, but also the cabinet itself is prone to a little bit of resonance when it's touching another surface underneath, like every other monitor is, right? So get yourself some of these isolation pads. They don't cost an arm and a leg. Normally when you buy them, you kind of get two, you get like spares as well, right? Because these monitors are really tiny, so they just go on the bottom. Okay, so the software that I'm using is a software called Reference, Sonar Studio Reference. Am I even saying that right? It's made by SonarWorks, right? And the reason why I'm using this is because this particular room is a bedroom, right? It's just a home bedroom studio. There's a bed over the left side. I'm not gonna show you how messy this room is. There's like wardrobes, cabinets, stuff like that. This room is untreated completely. You can probably hear that in the sound. There's no kind of treatment in this room whatsoever. This is just furniture that's dampening the sound a little bit. So I feel like anytime you have a home studio or home recording studio like this, treating your room with a software is probably the most beneficial thing you can do for your monitors, right? Because you can spend a lot of money, you can treat the walls, right? But it's still not going to sound as tight as a recording studio, because we still got right angles. We got, I mean, you probably see in this room, the ceilings and everything. There's a lot of things to reflect on in this room, right? Softwares like this, SonarWorks, Reference, what they do is they analyze your room. So you get a little microphone like this one here, and it's specific. It's like, you know, calibrated to the software you're using, and you basically go around the room facing it at your speakers, and it's sonar. It leaves off some sonar beeps kind of sounds, and then it relays back to the speaker and kind of basically tells it where all the reflections in the room are. And then what it will do is it'll listen to that sound and correct it to what the original profile of the Yamahas would sound like, which should, in theory, give you a better recording environment or better mixing environment to work your mixes in and stuff like that. So instead of just talking about it, I'm actually going to do the whole thing with you guys, because I haven't done it yet on this particular pair of monitors, but I normally do it with every single monitors I have. I'm going to do it with these ones with you guys today. So come along for the little journey. You can see how this is done.
Volume of your output device. My voice should sound at normal conversation volume.
There we go. All right, then.
Left speaker. Right speaker.
I reckon that makes sense. Right in the middle. Boom. Seems right. Boom. Okay. Now it's saying it reckons it's 70 centimeters from the point of the listening spot to the speaker. So let's look. I'd say that's absolutely bang on. That's so goddamn correct. Wow. Guess it's using its sonar to position us. All right, so that's kind of impressive, right? These speakers are actually so close to each other, especially when they're not exactly a matched pair. That's pretty cool. That's not bad at all, right? So let's name these speaker profiles. These are my Yamaha. You guys probably can't hear this, but there's a difference now, huh? That was kind of long-winded, huh? So I've gone through and I've A/B tested using the software and not using the software, and it's so subtle. It's really, really subtle. This is probably the set of speakers that have had the subtlest, the most smallest amount of increments changed with them. If you could hear it, amazing. If you can't, don't blame you. It's very, very subtle, and this is just kind of that little bit of an extra thing you can do to these speakers to just push them right into the best that they can be. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just some of the tips that I found made my speakers just sound a little bit more studio-like and tightened up the sound and corrected all the horrible ambience inside my room, whether it be on the desk with the isolation pads, whether it be from the PC generating all sorts of weird radioactive sounds, or whether it be the volume, lack of volume. I feel like these tips genuinely helped me, so I just thought I'd make this video and maybe it'll help you guys. Some of the tips on here push you towards having an idea of what maybe you should buy when you're buying these speakers and what you should buy afterwards, or what you should do to adjust, and things that may correct issues that you may have. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then you know what to do. There's always that like button down below. There's that subscribe button if you want to follow me on my little journey here of me building this home studio. I've actually been working on some projects already. I've just started this home studio and I've already grabbed some projects. I'm working on a short film and some other things and bits and bobs in the background. So if you're interested in seeing this journey, then come on, join. It doesn't cost you nothing. Just hit the subscribe button. All right, I'll catch you in whichever video happens to come next. Peace.